As businesses reopen and employees are heading back into the office, re-entry anxiety, it's a worry for many that the pandemic has brought on as people head back into work and the workplace. Here with tips on how to safely bring employees back into the building while easing concerns is holistic and peak performance psychologist, Dr. Gloria Chance. Welcome to the show, doctor.
Thank you so much for having me this morning.
So what are some of the stressors that people will encounter when we talk about re-entry into the workplace?
Well, the main one that people will experience, that we're all experiencing right now, is managing our anxiety. Right now, because there are so many things happening and changing by the hour, we're all dealing with stressors and anxieties and hoping and wishing for the old normal as we try to navigate the new normal. And so it's important for us to recognize that first.
So is it just all these things that are overwhelming us that's causing the anxiety, or is there something else?
Well, anxiety, and the definition of anxiety is the fear of the unknown and having too many tasks to do, too many unknown tasks, and too many things that are not resolved. And so this is something that we have in our bodies that will normally protect us when we're in danger. It's our fight or flight response. But unfortunately right now, because every day we're having a new situation to deal with, we're feeling as if we're fighting, and we're having to have flight going on almost every part of the day. And so there's an increase significantly, scientifically, in stress and anxiety in this environment.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I've felt it myself. What are some of the negative health effects when we are dealing with and feeling anxiety?
So we know from the research that stress and anxiety over time can cause physical issues. And so things such as increased blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, all of those are things that will inherently cause more problems for us significantly as time goes on if we carry the stress and anxiety with us.
So because we don't want those things, those are not good things, what can we do on a daily basis to try and reduce any feelings of anxiety?
Yeah, and so as we re-enter the workforce, the most important thing that in order to reduce anxiety, is to have control over something. And right now, the best things that we can control is how we behave. And so be clear as you re-enter the workforce on what are the things that cause you anxiety? Create a list. So in other words, do I not want to be in crowds? Does it worry me if someone doesn't have PPE on? Do I understand what my role is versus my employer's role? So knowing those things that stress you out and having a plan in advance, proactively, about how you're going to handle those stressors will be key in terms of your daily self-care.
Yeah, when we talk about going back to work, I mean, some people have been just working from home, so it's, just not knowing who you're going to be around when you go back into the workplace. Also, just figuring out that new routine and schedule, or for other people, maybe they left their job and they're starting a new one. So what can employers do to help reduce these types of anxieties and feelings people are having, these employees, for when they head back into the workplace?
I suggest and work with employers to help them build in routines that will help reduce stress. And some of those are to simply have check-ins. And it can be on a daily, weekly, bi-weekly basis, where like people have conversations and they get support from others who are going through the same thing. Because obviously, we'd like to know that we're not in this alone. And it helps, especially if you've been isolated at home, to have a support group that will help you talk through, work through things that may be of concern.
Do you have any top tips, or just the one thing that you always tell people where they can start when it comes to relieving some of that anxiety? I know it's probably different based on the person. Some people are more prone to feeling anxious than others, but is there kind of like one thing that you can recommend that we can do?
Absolutely. And so as a mindset and peak performance psychologist, I use a lot of expressive arts. And while this may be counterintuitive because we're going through so much stress, I ask people to play. And play really is a bookend to stress. For example, Tina Knowles, Beyonce's mom, last night had this thing on Instagram about corny jokes. And laughter is one of those things that if you can do it for 10 or 15 minutes, it actually reduces stress and anxiety and can be helpful for everyone involved. So good for your family. Things like dancing and playing games together and making up stories together. Again, while it may sound like it's very minimal, it actually has great impact on your body and your mental health and your mental state.
And you talk about play. It sounds like fun. You're a big advocate of it to reduce anxiety. Can you talk a little bit more about who can introduce some of this play into their life? I mean, if someone's super serious or maybe they're just kind of that worrywart type, they might be like, oh, play's not for me.
For sure. So I would say that then, of course, meditation, those type of things, and breathing exercises. There are also tons of resources online. If you type in, there's this mind-body connection with stress. So type in stress relievers related to body. And so, for example, exercise can reduce stress. Walking can reduce stress. And more than anything, sleep. Sleep is so important, and when we're going through changes like this, it is difficult to get a good night's sleep. But be sure that you work out, you try and sleep, and that you eat well. And then you also integrate play. So I'm going to get back to play.
Yeah, eventually get back to that play.
Exactly.
Dr. Gloria Chance, I want to thank you for joining us and talking to us about these re-entry anxiety and some strategies of how we can deal with it. You can catch this entire interview with Dr. Gloria Chance on re-entry anxiety at yourcalifornialife.com.